Hi, so I want to make this video on how much protein you actually need, because in your nutrition pack, I've sent you a protein target and a lot of people freak out and go, oh my God, I get nowhere near that much. So I just want to reassure you that it's all okay. It's not the end of the world, and just explain what's behind those numbers and just help you find a middle ground with it. So the number that I've given you is your body weight, your ideal body weight in kilograms times 1.6. It gives us a really good indication of sort of more or less how much protein you need. This is quite a high number, okay? So in terms of exactly how much we need, how much protein we need to be healthy, optimal is a range, okay? There isn't like a specific number you need to get, and it's highly debated, right? People do not agree on this in like the nutrition and fitness world, but 1.6 is a pretty high figure for most people. Most people aren't getting that much, but it is quite realistic. Like some kind of bodybuilding circles will give you like your body weight in pounds times 2, and it's like insane amounts of protein, and it's really hard to do. So this is quite realistic, but it's still a range, okay? So there's a range of that is healthy, and there's a range that is optimal, and it's highly debated, and the upper limit isn't really hasn't really been defined. But so I wanted to put some numbers on that range. As a bare minimum, the World Health Organization has, and lots of other kind of like big names have defined the bare minimum as body weight, or ideal body weight, times 0.8, right? That's half of what I've given you, right? Because much like vitamins, right, that we have an RDA, which is a bare minimum that we need to avoid disease and malnutrition, okay? So if you're eating less than 0.8 per kilogram of ideal body weight, then you're on a consistent basis, then you aren't getting enough protein to avoid malnutrition. But most people are getting this. This isn't that hard to get, and there's a lot of tag-along proteins that you usually get. If you're getting less than this, you really need to assess it. But this is not an optimal number. This is just the bare minimum, just like it's better to get more vitamins than the minimum RDA. But the range is quite big. So really we could say like anything more than 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, like, you know, maybe we're trying to get you to aim for 1 gram per kilogram body weight to 1.6 grams. Like anything in that kind of range is a pretty realistic and sensible range. But there's a reason why I have opted for a higher number for you to aim towards. There are a few reasons why, right? So let's talk about the role of protein in the body. The role that protein has a lot of functions in the body is really important for overall health. It's involved in repair and healing. Almost all the tissues in the body are made up of protein to some extent. So it's really important for maintaining all those cells and making sure that you're getting, you have the building blocks for repair and healing and just regeneration of cells, right? That cells are dying and being replaced all the time. It's important for growth, which might not be so relevant for us if we're in our 30s or beyond. But it is important for your kids. Your hair, skin, and nails are all made up of lots of proteins, and hormones are largely made up of proteins, and, you know, other things as well as your brain. Like I said, most tissues in the body. So it's really important for maintaining all of those muscles, but it's also important for muscle building, right? Which, you know, we want to make sure I'm getting you to do some strength training. Most people need to build some muscle. Most people don't have enough muscle. And, you know, we want to see nice definition in terms of aesthetics, but more muscle also increases our metabolic rate, which is also important. After the age of 30, we lose about 5% of our muscle tissue every decade. And that will just keep happening after the age of 30. Until you die. So it's really important for keeping your metabolism higher, and also for avoiding injury later on in life, which you might not be thinking about yet, but it is important for long-term health. Protein's role in weight loss, specifically in your diet, is, first of all, it has a high TEF, which is the thermic effect of food. So when you eat food, digestion is an active process and requires energy or calories. When you eat protein, around 20% of the calories that you've ingested, around that figure, is needed for digestion. So that's really quite high. So if you eat 200 calories of chicken, that would be 20 to 40 calories, I think, if I've not got that wrong. I'm really terrible at maths. Would be required for digesting that. Whereas carbohydrates and fat, it's much, much lower. I think 10% for fat and like just a few percent for carbohydrates. I might have that a bit mixed up, but that means that it increases the amount of energy that we are burning through digestion. So including lots of protein in the diet makes that happen. It's more satiating. It's going to make you feel fuller for longer. It helps regulate blood sugar levels, and it helps preserve muscles or muscle mass, along with resistance training. You have to be doing resistance training. You can't just eat protein and not do resistance training and preserve lean muscle. If you lose weight, if you're not resistance training and eating enough protein, around a third of the weight lost will be from lean body, lean mass, which isn't just muscle, but it includes muscle and other tissues. So we want to prevent that loss. We want to make sure that all of it, or as much as possible, comes just from fat and not from lean tissues. So protein helps us do that, but we have to be doing resistance training as well. It's just the protein doesn't work. You need the signals from lifting weights and resistance training to ensure that your body doesn't metabolize its own muscle for energy when there's a deficit. And via muscle, protein helps keep our metabolism high, but both via TEF, the thermic effect of food, and via muscles. If we have more muscle mass, our metabolisms are higher. So the takeaway message is that protein are really, really important. Protein is really, really important for different metabolic processes and for overall health, and in lots of different tissues in the body. And it's also important for fat loss. It will help you feel fuller and it will help you lose weight faster if you have a higher protein diet, which is why I've given you a higher number to aim for. But I don't want you to get too obsessed with the number. If you're struggling to hit your protein goal, we can lower it. There is a range that is good for you. I prefer you feeling like you're consistently getting something that you can actually achieve rather than feeling like you're failing at getting a higher number. But also keeping in mind that it's not a big rock in the beginning. Getting in that calorie deficit is the most important thing. As long as you're getting kind of like, above like the minimum required amounts for health, like I don't care, as long as you're in that deficit. So we're going to go for the big rock first, and then we can address protein a bit later on down the line. Most people aren't getting enough, especially women. So please don't worry if you don't feel like you're getting enough or you haven't been getting enough right now. We will address that. But like I said, later on down the line, and enough is a range. It's not just a point on a scale that you have to hit, and below that is just not enough. Okay. So I hope that has given you a bit of information about why protein's important in the diet, how much you actually need, and how we're going to go about this.